There has never been a better time to get into Airbnb for the cash flow and the tax savings. And you and I both know if you're watching this video, you're probably considering getting into Airbnb, but you want clarity and certainty around how do I generate cash flow. So the good news is there's a very proven process to make sure that you're optimizing for as much cash flow as possible with a combination of the right market, the right property type within that market, and then the best design and management. So I'm going to go through a few examples of properties that have a blend of all this, like we did for Antonio. He had an exceptionally high cash flowing month during a very, very slow month, and it's a combination of right market, right property type within it, and then the right design. We also did this for Sarah. Sarah's got a super unique property, very, very expensive, very luxury in Austin, Texas, one of the highest grossing income properties that we've ever sourced. And what's crazy about this deal is we got her a blend of super low down payments and super low interest rates. We did the same thing for Max. Max actually bought this deal with a conventional loan product. So he's paying reasonably high interest as he closed on this home last year. But the best part is he's in one of the most unique markets in the Poconos, and he has an ultra unique type of property where this thing is just spewing off cash flow. He had back-to-back $9,000 months and only has a $2,700 per month mortgage. Randy and Lorelei, we did this for them. Super low down payments and super low interest. That gives us extra cushion for more cash flow. Dustin, and what you'll see is all these examples, they have some elements of three key things. Number one, they're in the right market. Number two, they're with the right property type, or there's a subcategory of properties that actually cash flow really, really well based on bedroom count, based on amenities and unique amenities that they have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few more examples. I'm going to run behind my screen, show you what we do to run this process every single month for hundreds of clients. And hopefully you can either work with us to replicate this or end up doing it on your own. So there are basically three things you need to get right whenever you're selecting an Airbnb. You, number one, need to be in the right market. There are thousands of US cities where people have launched Airbnbs throughout the years. Right now, they're around 100 to 200 given compliance and other items that basically indicate whether or not a property can cash flow. Then when you get a little more zoomed in on the market, you'll always notice that there are specific properties and property types that tend to do better. And to fast forward through this, you're basically not able to compete with hotels. So when we say right property type, we're going to specifically be talking about 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms, and up, because the product market fit that Airbnb really has at this point is group travel, and specifically luxury group travel. So once you've nailed down a market, which I'll give you our short list really quickly here, you've got the right property type, then the number one most important thing for you to get right once you've actually closed on a home, which I got right for the first 18 months when I started my short-term rental journey. I got cocky and arrogant, and before I started doing this program for other clients, I nailed the design items, and then I failed on design items for my 7th and 8th properties that I ever launched. And then I quickly learned, oh, I can't just rely on doing more deals in the right market that are the right property type. I also have to consistently nail the design. So I'm going to talk about all three of these. First off, what everybody wants to know, there is a shortlist that we use in our client program for indexing for properties that do really, really well in specific cities. So if you saw some of those examples in the case studies that I was highlighting earlier, we have examples of Austin in there. We have examples of Dallas. We have examples of a lot throughout Kissimmee and Davenport. We do a lot throughout Panama City Beach and Santa Rosa Beach. We have brought back the Smoky Mountains. One of the things that's also important to look into when you're considering markets is there a trend or a correction that is happening in real time? So I put this video together for our private clients. I'm going to highlight some of the items that I suggested there. But basically, when you're looking at markets, you're going to look for the highest yield. A yield is a ratio of the gross income to the total purchase price. So for example, what we do behind the scenes when we look at anywhere from 150 to 300 deals per day, typically around 800 to 2,500 per week. Again, it just totally depends on the day and the week as a whole. We're looking for at least 15 to 20% of a yield, because what we know behind the scenes after seeing people's profit and loss statements, after seeing their accounting and their bookkeeping, we know that their expenses as a percent of the purchase price every single year are somewhere between 11 to around 15, maybe 16% if it's a specific deal type. But what we know is on average, if you have, let's say, for example, $1 million home, whether it's a conventional deal, whether it's a creative deal where you have subject to seller financing, well, on the low end, the expenses are probably going to be $110,000 per year. On the like middle and average end, maybe 13, 14. On the higher end, it would be closer to 15%. So something like $150,000 per year. That includes your monthly payments, capital expenditures, repairs, maintenance, utilities, paying a co-host, literally everything. So if you want to be on the safe side, and if you do underwriting on your own, when you're looking at properties, you should consider only homes that, based on the purchase price, they're able to gross at least 15 to 20% annually of whatever the total purchase price is. So for example, $1 million home, you should see it doing anywhere between $150,000 to $200,000 per year in gross revenue and feel confident about that. So those are one of the number one items that go into choosing the best market. Other things to try and optimize for after that is right now, most everything is in what we would call a correction. So if you went on Zillow or any other MLS platform, something like PropStream, and you could see the historical value of the home, well, oftentimes we're buying homes that are valued at roughly the same value when they were last purchased in 2022. So what's crazy is I bought a lot of real estate in 2021 and 2022. People who are buying deals in the same markets that I'm in, where I'm cash flowing exceptionally well, most of my portfolio is indexed towards the greater Denver area, so Westminster, Arvada, and Aurora, as well as the Sarasota area in Florida. Well, if you look at a lot of the deals that are available right now, you're basically able to buy them for like the same purchase price that I bought a lot of my homes almost 3 years ago. So what's crazy is don't try and optimize for this too much, but just something to consider. If you can also buy at the bottom of a correction, which is why I think right now is one of the best times in the history of short-term rentals to be buying homes. You'll have an even better uptick in purchase price value over any 5-year interval if you can buy towards the bottom of a correction. So what I talked about next and what I'm going to get into next is the best property type. And I'm going to talk about number of bedrooms and amenities here. So first off, if you're in one of these markets, the next thing that you need to start looking at is you want to index for a sub-market that tends to have the following two characteristics. Number one would be less or lower competition. And the next item would be a relatively higher yield. So without going through all the exercises you need to do, I'm just going to tell you what we typically find in these markets. The areas that have both of these categories satisfied is anything that is more than 4 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms or greater. Okay, so equal than or greater to. And then anything more than or equal to 5 bedrooms, 6, 7 plus. And what we found is basically this. Throughout the years, you've probably seen this narrative around Airbnb bust. You see and look at those people who are promoting this or are highlighting that this is happening. And then you go a little bit deeper. You see what their narrative is. You see what type of property they have. You see their listing. You see what the listing looks like. The number one thing we've noticed is the people or the groups of people who are screaming this from the hilltops, they have 1, 2, or 3 bedroom homes. So the problem is this. When it comes to competition, what you want to do in pretty much any business is you want to find, number one, is there demand for that thing that you're trying to offer? Number two, is there saturation? And saturation really means there is more supply than there is demand. So if we drop the supply in an area, if we basically can say, hey, I want to enter into an arena where there are a bunch of gladiators competing. Do I want to enter into an arena where it's a fight to the death with 1,000 guys who are yoked and are built Greek gods? Or do I want to compete with 2 or 3 scrawny guys who I weigh 50 pounds more than? I would rather step into that arena. So that has to do with the element of saturation. Now, demand, what's really, really cool is it's very, very easy to go on AirDNA and just highlight. You can set specific filters. You can look at total bedroom count. You can look at total number of guests that a listing can serve. What you basically want to do is find this sweet spot where there's high yield and that there's also lower competition. And to fast forward through this, I'll give you an example of an area where I was just looking at and I was underwriting a deal yesterday for a client. It's a home in the Poconos. So this deal example, I think it was $770,000 purchase price. So I mistakenly was actually underwriting this home at first as a 4-bedroom home. Now the problem was my team, when they sent me this pro forma and I was doing the final income projection, this is the purchase price. So $700K purchase price, $770K purchase price. When I was looking at this home, I pulled up a bunch of comps that were all 4 bedrooms. Well, it was very, very clear. And I was even getting frustrated with the team in real time. I was like texting Brian on my team, why are you even pushing us this deal? When I looked at all the 4-bedroom comps in that area, the upper limit on income for 4 bedrooms in that specific area, I looked at around 5 to 15 other homes that are right around it, some closer to the water, some further away. Well, the upper limit on what I thought this one could realistically do if we really, really stretched its ability to perform was like 90K. So if you look at that as a percentage of yield, whatever 90,000 out of 770 is, that's maybe like 11 to 12%. It didn't work on the yield numbers. So it didn't work at all. But Brian on my team, he told me, hey, the listing, if you actually go deeper and you look at the listing instead of the incorrect value that we had in the pro forma, it's actually a 5-bedroom. And then when I recognized after another 5 minutes of underwriting, I was like, oh, shoot, this deal is incredible. Because what we ended up projecting this deal to do was closer to, I think, around $126,000. And if you look at that yield formula, it's very, very clear that this home absolutely works. The expenses on this home are going to be around $100,000 to $105,000 per year. And looking at all the other comps and the design enhancements that we're going to make to the property, no brainer that this deal will do enough. Well, that is the basic stair step of just adding 1 bedroom to a home and being able to serve a greater number of guests. This goes back to the thesis of Airbnb's true market fit really is group travel, and then specifically luxury group travel. So whenever you're looking at deals and you're considering a market and then a property type within it, when you're doing your underwriting, go look at properties 1 bedroom higher and then the same and then 1 bedroom lower. Start coming up with an average range for what is the upper limit on those types of properties can do based on the total bedroom count and the number of guests that they can sleep. And you'll see that incrementally higher with each additional bedroom that you add into the property and another 2 to 4 guests that you can sleep with each additional bedroom and the extra space that typically accompanies those homes, meaning there's larger square footage. You might have larger living rooms. You might be able to put in rollout beds, pull-out beds, and just have people sleeping in bunk beds in some of those larger living room areas or loft areas where you have like kind of this like orphan room where like nothing is really, there suitable for like doing a movie theater room or a true living room or a game room or what have you. You can just slide bunk beds in there, use that room for sleeping extra guests, which when you're traveling in groups, oftentimes people who are there for ceremonies, graduations, ski trips, snowboarding trips, lake trips, if you're closer to one of those points of interest. Or if you're just serving group and family travel, like in Kissimmee, Davenport, for example, anytime you can add in the capacity to serve more guests and then do this final thing, which I'm going to step into, is making the property more unique and impressive, then you have a true competitive advantage. So the third and final item. So if you nail the market, you're in the right market, and then you now have the right property type. The third and final item is just making sure you nail the design, or as I would paraphrase this into one simple idea, is just the experience and the vibes. So what you're really trying to optimize for is you want to have the coolest, not necessarily most unique, but like think in terms of most impressive or most impressive set of amenities or coolest things that the group who's traveling there can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip back over to my screen. I'm going to show you some examples of the typical designs that we often have our clients do that start with Tier 1 design items, Tier 2 items, and then Tier 3 items to add in. So after closing on hundreds of homes for clients, I've put together what we call brand or design packages. And one of the very first things that I start with are these very basic accent walls. So one of the easiest and lowest degree of difficulty, highest return on investment items that we've ever seen clients do is just the most basic either paint accent walls or wood panel accent walls that are very, very simple to put together. You can do this in a single day or 2 days with either a general contractor supporting. They can knock out anywhere from 1 to 5 of these walls per day, depending upon the size and how uniquely they're cutting the panels to fit into that specific space, and or the painting as well. So we've got some examples, and I just pull examples from other people's listings. I pull examples from other client listings. I'll switch over to my screen and show you some of the listings that have launched recently and have started performing really well out of the gate because they have these items added in. So very, very basic paint jobs. So geometric shape patterns work really well. Basic texture, like sponge paint work, which I'll show you some other examples of. And then here are a few examples of client homes that have gone live. either before they made a redesign or after they made a redesign. This one here is actually a client's home that they did. So these are the exact before and after photos that they put together. So these are like tier 1 basic, like put these things together. It's very low degree of difficulty. Spend a 1 to 3 day weekend at the property. You'll typically have a general contractor there. You're overseeing what they're doing, kind of managing their work. And then whatever gets done in that 2 to 3 day period, great. You typically fly back home. You'll oversee and kind of monitor what they're doing with either video calls or just asking them to send you photos every day for the next 1 to 5 days until they're completely finished. I'm going to add in a few other examples of some of the common value add revenue driving items that most of our clients add in. So the tier 1 stuff is basically paint jobs. So what we suggested there, accent walls, and this is specifically with the wood panels. And then additionally, we oftentimes suggest for clients to swap out light fixtures. I can count every single time that we've made very, very basic, like things that people buy on Amazon, sometimes Home Depot, sometimes other unique property improvement stores locally have really, really cool light fixtures. You don't really need to break the bank for these at all, but adding in unique light fixtures will absolutely be a game changer for the listing. I'm going to quickly pause and show you an example from a client who did this and just went live. All right, so this is a client's listing who just went live in Panama City Beach. So this is a 4-bedroom condo. And again, they nailed the right market, the right specific property type, and then they absolutely nailed the design. So I'm going to showcase and highlight some of the specific elements that they got really right. This first one is them doing the murals. So when I highlighted geometric paint patterns, when I highlighted the sponge patterns, when I highlighted, well, I'm actually going to showcase some of them here. One of the other items are the murals and just doing very basic and very tasteful elements adding on. I'm also just going to showcase some of the light fixtures. So one of the like underrated but things that give perceived value is just showcasing that you're putting in a little extra effort to add these unique little touches and elements to the home. And what's really cool about this home is they did this pretty much throughout. So the home was already really well renovated. The former owner was actually living in this with their spouse. They had a very unfortunate issue and they had to sell the home. So their loss was our gain. They had already put together really impressive elements of backsplash, as you see here. But one of the things that the client did is he actually added in some of these really cool, unique light fixtures. And he actually did this throughout different parts of the home. So as you'll see here, and then I'll get to the bedrooms where he did the sponge paint design, which is this one here. So again, very simple items like this. There's a reason that he's getting booked like crazy, even though we only launched this home barely 1 to 2 weeks ago. Other items, let me go to the light fixtures because he added in a couple unique ones in bathrooms as well. So again, mural, just talking about this as well. Again, nothing crazy, but the whole idea here is just better, unique, better. Everything that we're doing in terms of improving the listings once we take over the homes is just a matter of, where can I add value with uniqueness, with something that is, very appealing, and like what are the amenities or unique designs that actually drive revenue in those areas. Some of the other items that I really like here are the unique furnishings. So this little hanging chair, obviously they have a super cool balcony view. They have water, they have ocean view if you look a little bit further out. So I couldn't find the photos of I might have passed over it, but basically the light fixtures. So again, this just further solidifies everything that you need to do to take over a home once you've actually, again, found the right market, found the right property or right property within that like sub market. So you're clearly identifying, hey, 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, we don't really want to index for that. We want to serve larger guests or larger groups of guests, larger groups of guests, and the large guests too. No hate. We've got to make sure that we're doing things the right way. So to do the final loop on this one, so the tier 1 stuff, which is very basic things like the accent walls. So we definitely did that here. Now, this client chose not to use any of the design principles that we highlighted for things like the accent walls, improving the accent walls in the area here. What they did instead was they just chose to do murals. As you can see right here, they chose a mural there. I think this home is very tastefully done. This is one of the coolest listings that we've ever had a client go live with. The art is really well done. I think one of the things that they could also attempt or test, which would give it an even more luxury, premium, bougie experience and vibes feel, is they could probably explore doing something like adding in some of that wood panel accent, either on the staircase, since they did the mural here already. What I would explore doing is something cool going on the staircase, something like a staggered approach to having different wood panels right behind the TV. So I'm going to show you an example here really quickly. So some of the designs like this, kind of like we had another client do recently, the one that I really like is this asymmetric design. So if there's a space for a mounted TV, what you can see is they've got the symmetric or asymmetric accent walls on either side. This one looks like it's pretty symmetrical with the light fixtures. So again, the name of the game boils down to finding the right market, finding the right property within that market, and then actually leaning into the design. So I didn't ask this client to give me a budget of what their total enhancements were on the home. I think they pretty comfortably kept it under 20 to 30,000. They did say they threw away more of the furniture than they had originally planned to do. So they mostly replaced the furniture. The designs on the walls were really cool. Probably a mural artist that they paid $1,500 to $2,500 max. They probably did the paint stuff for them as well. And overall, this is the formula. So if you ever want help doing this and you want somebody to take the guesswork and the legwork out of doing all this for you, definitely click the link somewhere around this video in the description where you can schedule a time with us and we can review exactly what we're doing right now to help 100+ repeat clients this year buy more cash flowing, tax saving home. If you're more interested in just doing this on your own, check out the other videos that we have out here. But if you're wanting some help, we look forward to speaking with you soon.